ultimate win. That's the ultimate success. That's the trump card. That's the big joker in the deck when you can slap somebody in their face and say, look, we won. You ever seen the guys in the middle of the field beefing? What's up, homie? What's up, boy? We better than you. And someone points. You know what they're pointing at? The score. They're pointing at the scoreboard because that matters most. Not just in an individual ego matchup, but because of the consequences of the team that loses. We all know in the NFL work week, coming in on a Monday after a win versus coming in on a Monday after a loss is night and day. So if you're LaVar Bell in this situation, you don't want to go out there and just say, look, I got mine, but we didn't get ours. So he's going to have to look at it like, I'm going to take Revenge Street all the way to Winning Boulevard, and that's my destination. Make sure, ultimately, we get the W.
Big bro, we gonna say the same thing, but say it differently.
Okay.
I think he's more worried about revenge because he ain't got to worry about the win. You don't have to worry about something that's guaranteed to happen. Like, I'm not worried about my next sentence of oxygen. I'm like, I'm just going to be able to breathe.
You're just going to do it.
You ain't got to worry about the win against the Jets when the Chiefs are really have one loss. It's to the Raiders, and the Jets can't find a way to win. Because he's not worried about the win, he's more focused on revenge. Now, you talking to a dude who feels like he's been the underdog. I'm the kind of guy, I got cut by the Eagles, Marcellus. I saw an article, Eagles cut linebacker Emmanuel Acho, signed linebacker Najee Good. I print out that article, I tape it to the front of my notebook, and I looked at that the rest of my career. Now, mind you, the Eagles signed me back. I'm sharing a linebacker room with this linebacker Najee Good, but the rest of my career, I literally had that because that revenge, so to speak, was my motivational factor. That was my thing that continued to drive me. If the Chiefs win, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an implication on how Le'Veon did. If the Chiefs lose, it's not because of Le'Veon. If they win, it's not because of Le'Veon. But Le'Veon Bell can still ball regardless of the outcome. For that reason, I do think Le'Veon is probably more worried about revenge because a win is going to come. But can I get that revenge either way?
You know, I would say for two reasons he's not worried about revenge, and it's more about getting the win against the Jets. One is because before we got to this point, we looked at Le'Veon Bell as possibly the most dynamic running back, possibly the most dynamic offensive player in the National Football League. We may not remember that moment in time because there's been so much turbulence in between. And it's crazy because if you look at him and the parallels with AD, it's very relatable, right? So we're looking at a guy that has greatness. The second point I would make is that when you look at the amount of history, the connection, the ties to the New York Jets, there are none. If anything, if I'm Le'Veon Bell, I might be upset that things didn't work out. But, boy, they paid me a whole lot of money. And gave me an opportunity to get another job, and that job landed me with possible repeat champions in the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that there's enough history, enough connecting tissue between Le'Veon Bell and the New York Jets for this to be a revenge game.
Yeah, his motivation has to be bigger than just this one game. And like Acho said, they should win this game, duh. So he has to think big picture in this situation. He is in Kansas City to do two things: add some positive numbers to his production and add some positive perspective to his perception of how the world is receiving Le'Veon Bell right now. Because he's being looked at as a malcontent. He's being looked at as a guy who doesn't necessarily fall in line. He looks like a guy that is not going to go with the team. He's going to go for I over we. So he needs to clean up his perception and get his production in order. You have no time to be going out there on some revenge missions because that's not going to serve you going forward. It's funny when you look at this situation that when Le'Veon Bell looks at the other team and he says, damn, that's the team that paid me but played me at the same time, you get a mixed bag of feelings. I've never been in that position before. But Acho talked about the mindset of how he felt like he was an underdog. Now, I want to push back on that because a lot of times people reset what they feel based on how they want to justify and how they want to feel. Let me talk to y'all. So sometimes people can say, I'm an underdog. But sometimes you can be just an underachiever, and now you're trying to change that for your own pillow to lay on. Think about it. Let's talk to Acho. Acho, I'm from a small school. You went to UT. You know why you went to UT? Because you was all-state and a beast in high school, right? So now you get to NFL and everything resets. And now I don't want to look at it like it's an underdog situation. Like, dog, you come from UT to the league, you ain't no underdog. Like, I was an underdog, if anything, and I still didn't even think I was an underdog. I said, I got a chance. And if I'm LaVar Bell, I don't need that underdog, or I don't even need to believe that I've underachieved. I need to think that there's enough in front of me to go cover that ground and make some noise. LaVar Bell is good enough.
Great.
Yeah, he's good enough and young enough to still be something in this league, not to go out on a revenge sword, or underdog sword, or underachieving sword.
I don't know if I agree, gentlemen, and I don't know. I'm hesitant to think that it's because y'all are further removed. I don't think that. I'm interested in his perspective. Let me say this. Let me say this, because Marcellus, your underdog mentality can change based on people's perception of you. For example, I went to Texas, right? But then I tear my quad at the combine, fall to the 6th round in the draft, tear my MCL my rookie year. Now I'm left to the wayside. Like, I've never seen this dude play. He might not be any good. LaVar Bell, he was balling in 2017, sits out 18, comes back in 19, not great. Early on in 20, not great. People don't think Le'Veon's the same Le'Veon. I don't think that's a matter of underachieving as much as it's a matter of being the underdog. So I see your point on the surface level, but if I'm going to take that deep dive into the details that we so often do on this show, I say that just because at one point in time you were on top, doesn't mean that you can no longer at any point in time be an underdog. Sure, when I went to Texas, I was that dude, but by my second year in the NFL, it's totally different after 2 injuries and I ain't played in about 16 months. LaVar Bell was that dude in 2017, but after sitting out a year and being unproductive for a year and a half, I do think that he has that underdog mentality and he's going back for some revenge to show everybody, and really the Jets and Adam Gase, just how good he is and what they're missing out on.
I hate to do this, but since Marcellus did it the other day with Jay-Z, Sean Puffy Combs, and Marcellus
Diddy and me, boy,
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this the right way. The reason why elite matters in this situation in terms of revenge and how he feels about himself. You were good at UT. You were a fine player. You had a misfortune at the combine, but all due respect, you weren't DJ. Right?
No question.
If you're Derek, or you're like LaVar Arrington coming out of linebacker U as the linebacker, not a good linebacker, but like the linebacker, which LaVar Bell was a running back, one of the great running backs to leave Michigan State. He became one of the great running backs in a traditionally, historically rich running back tradition in Pittsburgh. His DNA, his reputation does not allow for him to approach things as an underdog because he's been on top. The target has been on him the entire time, even during his shortcomings of being suspended in Pittsburgh or not playing and playing up to level in New York. The target was still on him to be great. It's never gone away. Therefore, the level of player that he is, it does not allow for him to be an underdog. I hate it to have the high side, but, you know.
Man,
you earned the right. You earned the right to boost yourself. But here's why I vehemently disagree. Because we don't have to look very far. We don't have to look very far to have a pure, blatant disagreement. Des Bryant, historically great Cowboys franchise, historically great position. He wore a historical number. Des Bryant missed the season like LaVar Bell missed the season, but Des Bryant tore his Achilles. Des Bryant hasn't really contributed in over a year and a half, and you can look on his Twitter, you can look at anything, hear his quotes. Des Bryant has uttered that he is a underdog. Just because at one point in time you were great doesn't mean that you can't have that underdog revenge mentality. You better believe, I'm sure if Des Bryant's going to go play the Cowboys, if the Ravens activate him from practice squad to that active roster, there's going to be a little more fuel in that fire because y'all passed up on me dating back to 2017 and 18. That's Des Bryant would be speaking. So LaVar, the reason I disagree.
It's not a bad pool.
The reason I disagree is because there is an exact example. Historical franchise running backs, Pittsburgh Steelers, Le'Veon Bell, historically great. Historical franchise, Dallas Cowboys, historical position. Dez Bryant is historically great. He was an underdog, has an underdog mentality. I think the same could be and is said of Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, man.
Not a bad point.
What's up, man?
That's not a bad. I gotta say,
the wrong way.
it's not. You took my queen on that one. That's not a bad point, Acho. It really wasn't.
Look, I'm